You have to be a killer in business. You haven't had a good press. You haven't enjoyed relations with the press.
The great success often leads to bad relationship, unfortunately. Just to see who my friends would be and who my enemies would be. Worked probably harder than I did in the 70s and 80s, and actually became much more successful. But, you know, there are times when you just have to say, that's enough, that's all I can do.
In order to be successful, and you people are well on the road to success, you have to find out what makes you excited, what makes you want to get up each morning and go to work. You have to find it. If you love what you do and dedicate yourself to your work, then you will gain momentum. And look, you have to. You need the word momentum. You will gain that momentum. And each success will create another success. The word momentum. In life, I always tell this to people, you have to know whether or not you continue to have the momentum. And if you don't have it, that's okay. Because you're going to go on, and you're going to learn, and you're going to do things that are great. But you have to know about the word momentum. But the big thing, never quit, never give up, do something you love. When you do something you love, as a scout, I see that you love it. But when you do something that you love, you'll never fail. What you're going to do is give it a shot again and again and again. You're ultimately going to be successful. And remember this, you're not working. Because when you're doing something that you love, like I do, of course I love my business, but this is a little bit different. Who thought this was going to happen? We're, having a good time. We're doing a good job. Doing a good job. So you'll work 24/7. You're going to work all the time. And at the end of a year, you're not really working. You don't think of it as work. And never, ever give up, and you're going to be tremendously successful. Tremendously successful.
You say you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. That sounds like a very destructive business philosophy, is it?
Well, I'm not sure that I've actually used those words, but generally you have to shake things up pretty much in order to do something of consequence. And I have shaken things up, and I've had the best business years of my life by far. Anytime you have a great business, you always have competition, and you always have, unfortunately, the smart and the tough people coming into it.
You have to be a killer in business?
I think you have to be smart in business. I don't think you have to be a killer. I think you have to be smart. You have to be paranoid. You watch, you can be a little bit careful. You watch what's happening behind your back, and I think that's probably very true in business. I think that there's great enjoyment. I think that the paranoia cannot be carried to a life-shattering crisis point. But I think it's good to always know that people are out there and they're looking to throw you off your throne. But I think success brings great enjoyment, and certainly it has for me. But that is not the case. I mean, I think greed is bad. I think that you have to enjoy what you're doing. If you enjoy what you're doing, it'll be successful, generally. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's almost never going to be successful.
But in the early 90s, you faced the possibility of losing everything. In fact, on paper, you had lost pretty much everything.
I had faced the possibility of losing everything, and I went back to work. I focused my mental energies and all of my energies.
You never thought of giving up?
No, I think one of the reasons I really succeeded, and bigger than even in the 80s, is the fact that it's a little word called perseverance. I didn't stop. I came up with a phrase, survive till 95. That was in the early 1990s. And it turned out to be right, because the world changed, the economy changed, and there was a survival tactic till a certain year. What I did is I re-put up my guard and re-put up my defenses and my offenses much stronger than I ever did in the 80s, and worked probably harder than I did in the 70s and 80s, and actually became much more successful. I wrote once that I would love to sort of have a bad period financially, just to see who my friends would be and who my enemies would be. Now, I'll never write it again, because it's not fun.
But it might be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, that's true. And so I don't want to write it again. I wrote it once, and I had that down period, and that down period I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. But I will tell you, I also learned that there are some very good friends out there for me, and there were some people that did not help. And I think part of that, one of the negatives to success is that there are lots of obstacles thrown in your way in terms of relationship. And success may be great in terms of living and lifestyle and beautiful homes and apartments and boats and planes and all of the stuff that doesn't mean very much, but success is not necessarily very good for a relationship. I believe that women are actually stronger than men, and I actually say that they're not so much stronger, but I think they're more aggressive than men. Even in business, I found that some women are just more aggressive, and I don't exactly know why. And I say this with respect. I don't say this with scorn, with anything else. I say this out of great respect. But I think that women, in many cases, are more aggressive than men. But I think that women have a lot to do with business. They have a lot to do with the effect on your life and how they affect your life. They have a huge amount to do with it. I have mostly a love relationship with women because I totally admire and respect and love women. I think women are incredible. But I really do. I feel that there is a... I feel that the smart ones are the ones that really go out and do it without waving the banner of women's liberation. And if you look at the really successful women, those are the ones that have not had to wave that big banner. They've just gone out and done it. I think that finances and relationship are very different.
What are the two of them?
I think that finances, that great success often leads to bad relationship, unfortunately. I think that the reason that somebody becomes successful is that focus is on his success, his or her success, not necessarily his or her relationship. But I think that there are times when both can work beautifully, and that's if you get the right partner. And getting the right partner is a very important thing in life. I mean, having the right partner can be a very beautiful thing in life, if you're lucky enough to do that. I think having a great relationship is more important than deals and more important than everything else. I find that business comes very easy to me. Relationship is always a much more difficult thing. And I think that having that great relationship does not necessarily go with having that great business.
Most important to you seems to be your children. Is that right? This matters to you a great deal.
Yeah, I have great children, and they're very important to me. And I think that's one of the great things that came out of both relationships.
And your parents, still very close to them?
I'm very close to my parents. I have a great relationship with them. Money does not buy happiness, and it does not buy lots of other things, but it certainly makes life easier, and it really does create, it lets me create what I want to do artistically, because I'm an artist. In a certain sense, I'm an artist. I build the greatest buildings in the world. I'm the biggest developer in New York City. I love what I'm doing, and I put up great things. And having money and having the kind of access to money that I have allows me to do what I like to do best.